Tell me what you're doing there at the conference and what you're going to be speaking about here.
Thank you for asking. Yes, we're excited about the Marriage America Conference and here in beautiful Orlando. But I'll be talking about the wounded healer, and that we, in a sense, are the true physicians of the soul. And as we seek to minister to couples, husbands and wives, many of us can do that because we have our own past pain and the issues that we've gone through. My own dad attempted to strangle my mother to death, and I was just a little toddler. In fact, after my dad died, I relayed my mother about that episode, and she was in complete shock. She said, "You were too little. There's no way you could remember that." And I said, "Well, here's what I remember. Did it go down this way?" And she said, "Yes, it did." Well, that wounded me. And then later my dad committed adultery when I was about 11. I found that out. And so those are two traumatic things. And, we all come to a point where these past issues, these wounds, they can either make you really bitter, or there can come a point when you say, you know what, this might enable me to understand the pain of other people, and I might be able actually to have something to offer people who go through similar experiences. And those are some of the choices that I made. And many of the people here, have those wounds, but they're seeking to serve people, to give to people, and somehow make that redemptive.
Boy, it's so easy for us when we have those wounds and pains that you're talking about to run from them instead of trying to embrace them and seeing what God, can do through those wounds that we have.
Yes, no, exactly. And the encouraging thing is that Christ is the true wounded healer. In 1 Peter 2:24, by his wounds you are healed. And what a joy to know that through his sufferings we have experienced healing. And just before that, in verse 21, he says that we are to follow in his steps. And so in a sense, all of us have a privilege of being little wounded healers. And we can be a conduit. And evil comes to many of us, but that doesn't mean that it necessarily defiles our spirit. Evil comes to us externally, but we make the choice whether we're going to let it come inside of us. And that's a beautiful thing. If that's not the case, then once we've been damaged, we're hopeless, helpless victims. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that about myself. I believe that the choice is mine to make, and I can either allow those past pains to embitter me or, in fact, cause me to discover something. God didn't cause the evil, but he certainly can work all things together for good. And that's that Romans 8 passage where the Romans were inflicted with evil, all kinds of things. They were feeling condemned. They were feeling separated from the love of Christ. They were being led to the slaughter like lambs. Evil was coming. Family members were dying. And yet Paul said all things work together for good, meaning that there's some really horrible things on the horizon, but we need to trust that God is good, that he has the power, and that he can take these things and work a greater good on the heels of those evils. And that was a choice that I struggled with, but I made that decision to trust God rather than shake my fist. Job and Job's wife both encountered the same suffering. Job said, "Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job's wife said to Job, "Curse God and die."
Wow. Two contrasts there. Mm-hmm. Boy, that's powerful. And then you'll be speaking on that tonight. Is that tonight you're going to be sharing that?
Actually,
message?
tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning at the plenary session, and at 8 o'clock in the morning. And we'll be serving, hopefully, all these great folks who have gathered here.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, hey, you mentioned, can you hang out with me for a little bit?
I sure can.
Yeah, because you got this little thing that you do called Love and Respect. You talk about love and respect, and, you got this little thing that you talk about in a book that's sold, about 1.5 million copies, and obviously it's resonated among married couples out there. So we got to talk about that. That's always a lot of fun. And so talking to Dr. Emerson Eggerichs, of course, well-known author and speaker all over the country, and he is joining me live from Orlando, Florida at the Marriage America Conference, and we'll have more coming